Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to Game Week 21 and we see how our festive predictions performed. We do this via the goals and assists imminent tables, which use the Fantasy Football Scout members area stats to try and predict future returns. This week we'll look back on those predictions that did well and those that did less well. We'll see how they could be options in Game Week 21. In addition, we'll take some questions you have at the end of the stream, so have a think about those. Post your questions in the live chat. My name is Joe and joining me is Tom Freeman, Fantasy Football Scout's Deputy Editor. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, Joe. Happy New Year.
New Year.
Difficult game week 20, which we'll no doubt come on to later. So I've taken a bit of a step back, but yeah, I think I've just got to move on quickly and start looking ahead to game week 21.
Excellent. As per usual, my playback function in YouTube is not functioning. So I don't know whether we are live or not. I hope we are. So if you could just let us know in the live chat that we're live, that you can see and hear us fine, so that we know we're not just talking to each other and no one else. So thanks a lot. If you could do that in the live chat. Lots of you in the live chat already. Tony, Murphy, Unknown, Dragon Lote, Abd, and Gavin, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us early. Joshua has just joined us as well. You are live, you're fine, you're all live, they're all saying. Big Phil and FPL Canada Gaz. A reminder, do let us know where you are listening and watching in the live chat. That would be most useful, so I can... it's always nice to find out where you're all from as well. Before we move on, just a reminder that there is a... offer over at Fantasy Football Scout. Have a look at that, fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. 7-day free trial and a 20% offer for the members area. That means you can have a look at a lot of the stats that we use for this show and other shows, as well as predictor tools and all of those types of things, the fun stuff. To look at the fixtures as well. Also, do remember to press that like button and do remember to subscribe. So far, Roynish says he's watching from his bed. So Kieran is listening from South Africa. That's a bit more, a bit less specific, but at least it's a country. Okay, let's move on just really quickly. So what we're going to do is this show. We're going to look at how we did over the last couple of fixtures, 19 and 20, for our predictions. Then next week we'll look at Game Week 21's goals imminent and assists imminent tables, because we've got cup fixtures coming up. We're a bit unclear about people like Haaland, so next week will be the sort of the start of doing some really good looking in detail. But today me and Tom will give you sort of our early thoughts on Game Week 21, and both me and Tom are in very different positions. I've got Haaland in place because incredibly I still have him in my team, and Tom doesn't. But I'll leave it to you to decide. Lots of people have been telling me that I've been wrong to keep Haaland all this time. Eventually I'm going to be right because he's going to come back, but
Well, you've been doing okay, but yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Possibly, not because I've kept Haaland though.
Okay,
in spite of, I think. Okay, let's have a look at this goals imminence, how we did over Game Week 19 and 20. So these are the ones that I put up on Boxing Day. We had a sort of a deadline stream, deadline imminent, and I put some goals imminent and assists imminent tables up there with these names here. And we did have some notable returnees, and we also had many that blanked. So first name up here was Calvert-Lewin. Blank Game Week 19, blank Game Week 20. I thought we were going to get at least a couple of goals. I'm sure he looked quite threatening. He's fit and playing. I think there was a bit of rotation over Christmas, but nothing injury related.
No.
Is it? I mean, especially with Everton's fixtures, they're sort of middling with Villa, Fulham, Tottenham, Man City, Crystal Palace, and Brighton and West Ham. So sort of mixed fixtures over the next 7 game weeks. But yeah, it's Calvert-Lewin. Is he still one to monitor?
He started against Wolves, didn't he, in the 3-0 loss? And I think I'm right in saying he was benched against Man City. So they've had a couple of tough fixtures because Wolves are very, very good at Molineux at the moment. But I think it's fair to say he's underperforming this year. I mean, he's got 3 goals from just under 7 XG. I don't think any forward has underperformed more this year than Calvert-Lewin. And that's including Darwin Núñez, who had another 3 big chances missed last night. So,
only
yeah.
only 3.
Yeah. I think he's slipped down the pecking order a little bit, Calvert-Lewin, in terms of where I'm looking at forwards
Okay.
and things like that. Just because I do think those fixtures. I mean, in the next four, they've got Villa, Tottenham, Man City, and I know that City. Are coming back in some great form. Tottenham still are conceding goals. That's not a terrible fixture for a striker, but I'd just put a few others ahead of him, I think, right now.
Okay. Garnacho's next on the list, and boy, did he return. Game week 19, couple of goals, and then a further assist in game week 20. I actually got him in after game week 19, annoying, but I did it because of Dingra. I needed to replace Dingra, who was suddenly injured. I know he was going to be absent from game week 21, but I thought I could play a Dingra game week 20 this week. But he is injured, and even if he wasn't, he'd be off to AFCON soon anyway. So I play a sort of price point game. So I was looking for basically a cheap fifth midfielder who I could field pretty much most weeks. And whilst Manchester United are looking poor, my take of it is every time I see Manchester United play, Garnacho is this sort of beacon of light. He just looks like he really cares. He looks really up for scoring. And he just looks like their best player at the moment. So I've got an assist from him. I'm happy he's in my sides.
He takes a lot of shots, doesn't
Yeah.
he? Takes a lot of shots, doesn't he, Joe?
Yeah.
He's kind of like got almost a shoot on sight policy at times when I've been watching it. And he's started 10 games in a row now, 10 Premier League games in a row. And so we kind of think, oh, well, because Anthony and Rashford are struggling, he's in there. But I think he's just got that place secure at the moment. I think he'll just continue starting. He's back on the left at Forest and got the assist. I mean, at 4.8, I find it very hard to find any negatives with it because you can play him every week at the moment. United aren't playing well, 1 win in 5. But like you say, they're probably still going to score a few goals. And so why not plug in the cheapest attacker and to get a bit of access to that? Fixtures, they play Tottenham next, and it's not a bad fixture like we just said then for an attacker, is it? So I think at 4.8, can totally see why you move for him. So
Sorry, I got him at 4.7. He's obviously gone up a bit since I got him. Tottenham up next. So I mean their defence concedes. A bit like Brighton, good attack, poor defence. Then he got Wolves away, then West Ham at home, Aston Villa, Luton, Fulham, and then the Manchester derby, which could go either way. Well, I say either way. Man City will be the better side, but you never know who's going to win that. So there's some good fixtures. They've got a sort of new ownership, and so they might do some activity in the transfer market. I would imagine Garnacho, whatever happens, is going to retain his place. But for that price, one to monitor, definitely. One to get in.
And just quickly, because those 2 goals were against Villa, of course, with that high defensive line, and that's what you're going to get with Tottenham as well. So this could be a match which really suits him as well. Yeah,
I mean, we'll come to our teams a bit later, but I've got a variety of possibilities to do, and so far none of them involve benching Garnacho, and that's sort of the theme of this show, and also from this week, because there's so many people bench Palmer, as you know, and we'll come to that in a bit. I benched many points myself, Doughty and Dubravka on my bench. But other people
that was an inspired signing though, the Doughty one. I mean, what amazing.
Well, it's once again it's the price points way I play. So I was looking for a Simicast replacement, and I wanted a defender that I could play, I could rotate, I can who was could get me returns any week, and I've learned a lesson now. I benched him this week. I got his goal the week before, but benched him last week. So I've learned a lesson there. Never captain, never bench. He's the new Leighton Baines for me, the Bedfordshire Baines.
No, I mean again, he's another kind of, I guess, a little bit of a poster boy for this kind of show as well, isn't it? He's those under the radar picks, but his stats have been right up there all year. He's always been promising returns.
Yeah. Definitely.
And it's finally started to happen, and Luton have got a nice run actually. So there's some really good fixtures for attackers there, and I would class Doughty as an attacker in the way he's playing in that team.
Yeah, I think there's always half an hour. This goes for Barkley, Townsend, whoever is playing up front for Luton as well.
Adebayo's done well.
I think he's cemented that place now. They got Burnley, Brighton, Newcastle, Sheffield United, Manchester United, Liverpool, Aston Villa. I mean, at home, I think they always have a good half an hour, 45-minute spell where they can just hammer a team, as Chelsea found out. And I think away they could nick a goal. So yeah, that it does apply to all those Luton players. Yeah, I think they're good. Just before we go on to the next name there, just a few people telling us where they're listening and watching from. Corey is watching from Melbourne. Mike Parsons in a rainy, windy Hove. Many a walk I have done in the wind and the rain with a pushchair along Hove Esplanade. The Hove, because I'm from Brighton. Hove and Brighton and Hove is now a city, but Hove to me is always different. It's long, boring roads, long, wide. Like if you go to see someone's house, I don't know, go to a party or something or whatever, you go to a pub, and the walk home was just so boring. It's just long.
It's
roads.
It's a bit further up the coast, isn't it, Hove? Am I right in saying
right
that?
next to it, yeah. I mean the boundary's in the middle of Waitrose for those on Western Road for those who are very local.
I'm sure I do know what you mean. I've stayed in a hotel there many years ago, pre-children, I think, and I can remember the walk back from Brighton to Hove is always longer than you think.
So Mike at a rainy and windy Hove with those long avenues. Big Phil, Cambodia. And so many of you. Cairo from Omar. Tony is of course from Keighley, which is Bronte country. I won't do the Kate Bush dance. Maybe one day or there. Dario is from Atlantis. So I've got a sinking feeling that might be a lie. Garrick is from Vietnam watching us there. And Dragon Lote studied and lived in Brighton. He knows Western Road very well. So he knows that Waitrose I'm referring to. Okay. Next name up, Johnson. Now Son is off to the Asia Cup. And it's actually quite logical, just because I think even without Son, Tottenham's attack will be good. Johnson and Richarlison definitely in the frame there. Got an assist. Richarlison obviously did better, not on this table because he's already delivered. So, yeah, a good Son replacement, Johnson, or is Richarlison really the one to get?
I like Johnson. I think he's been playing on the right recently with Son on the left and Richarlison through the middle. And I think from that right wing role, Johnson's a bit more of a creator. You can see I think he's got 3 assists in his last 3 because he got a couple in the match before in game week 18. But I think now with Son going to the Asian Cup, I think we could see Johnson on the left. And I think if he's on the left, I think his goal threat increases because he's cutting into his stronger right foot. Okay. So I think he's really interesting for this little run when Son's away. Wouldn't surprise me if the goal tally goes up a bit and maybe the assists drop off from that left spot because I think Kula will come back in on the right. I think. I think he's really interesting. I had a look at him, and I think everybody's in the market for midfielders now, aren't they, Joe? What with Salah and Son going away, and I think Richarlison, it's hard to look past him because he'll have penalties. I think when Son's away. And he's playing through the middle. So a lot of the way Tottenham play in this system is those cutbacks into the centre forward, in and around the 6-yard box. So I think it's hard to look past Richarlison. But if you do want to go a bit different, Johnson's a great player. I've always liked him. I think he could be worth a look.
Pedro, next for Brighton. On penalties, Mitoma is injured, and if he wasn't, he'd be playing for Japan. Adingra is injured. If he wasn't, he'd be playing for, I'm trying to remember where he plays for, Senegal, I think.
Can't remember.
Buonanotte was on the injured list. This is streaming before the Brighton West Ham game, so it remains to be seen whether he makes that game. These are all players that play in forward positions, and so you've got Ferguson and Welbeck can play up front. Pedro, you would imagine, can play the number 10. He can also play out on the wings. He can also play as that number 9. So basically, the point is that Pedro is being benched a lot and comes on in the league. In Europe, he tends to start. But I think with those absentees in forward roles, you're going to see Pedro getting many more minutes. He's on penalties. He's cheap. He gets returns. He's got an assist. Game week 19. I can't remember. He got. I think it was game week 18. He got lots of points. I think that was the whole week. I can't remember. They've all blended into one.
Right. Tell me about it. Yeah, all of the game weeks.
But nevertheless, he is a good option. So if you are in the market for a striker, a cheap striker, I think Pedro at Brighton is a good option there. And I also, I definitely think he'll get the more minutes, and he always impresses. I saw some rumor actually. I can't remember. One of the really big side in Italy were after him as well. So hands off.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Pedro. But I think, as you said, I think it's midfielders really where people are looking to make their next transfers. But do bear in mind Pedro at Brighton, because on the Fantasy Football Scout season ticker, next 7 game weeks, Brighton are top. They're actually top quite a while. So they've got Wolves, Luton, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Sheffield United, Everton, Fulham. Really great fixtures. Guys on penalties, cheap. Exactly the sort of player.
I think. I would agree there. I think that minutes have always been the problem with João Pedro. We love him when he's playing, and now he's got that window and that kind of 3 game week, 4 game week period where he is probably going to start 3 out of the next 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
So very, very good third striker option, I think.
Yeah, it was game week 19. So apologies everyone here for Pedro. I put an assist there. I think I just accidentally deleted it. I think it was 2 goals and an assist. And
it was the Spurs game, wasn't it? It was last Thursday, wasn't it?
I think that the 2 goals for Garnacho, I'd copy and pasted that in. And then for some reason I must have clicked a button and it lopped off. So yeah, he's even better. He's even better than that. So as everyone's pointed out quite rightly. So if you're watching this back, we are addressing this. Pedro got lots of goals and assists. Almiron's next for Newcastle. I'm not interested in Newcastle. They seem to be terrible away. They're in poor form. I do wonder how long Eddie Howe will last if it carries on like this, given the amount of money and... I've got to be careful with my words here with the ownership. With the political weight they have put on Newcastle doing well and getting good exposure for sporting reasons.
Yes.
So I think I've worded that carefully enough.
That's fine.
So I wonder whether Howe will last much longer given that.
Yeah.
But Almiron, I'm not interested in Almiron really either. Are you?
No, because they've just gone off the boil so much, haven't they? Almiron's played a lot of minutes and he was a sub. He came on at half time, I think, last night, didn't he? But you worry a bit about Newcastle because we don't know what the owners are like in this situation. Are they going to be patient with Howe, or are they going to say, well, look, is a 10-game poor period or whatever it'll be, is that enough then to change and go to go down a different route? I think Almiron is probably a pretty secure starter on that right, regardless of who's in charge. But then there's that question, well, once the schedule eases and Newcastle have less games, I'd expect them to start improving a little bit. And then it's whether you want to go for Almiron over somebody like Gordon, who's similar price point, got the assist last night, probably looks a bit more threatening.
Yeah, I mean, Gordon's good. I think I still prefer, I mean, obviously Palmer is the pick of that price range. But I think you can easily go down for Garnacho. I think... Garnacho's I would actually put above Gordon just because of the fixtures and because of his particular form. Matt Henley in the live chat has said traumatizing memories of walking Newchurch Road as a child, never ending stuff. This is really specific to Brighton and Hove, but I cannot express how bloody long that road is. And if you're a child walking it, it really is. I think I may have changed age during the time it took me to walk that. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Matt. It's very traumatizing. Odegaard at Arsenal. He's in your side, isn't he?
He is.
Right.
I bought him in 3 game week. I've had him for 3 game weeks. So the game I bought him in for was the Liverpool one when he got the assist and he got maximum bonus. And then him and Arsenal, the last couple, you can see here, they've obviously struggled against West Ham and Fulham, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. So Arsenal, I don't know what's going on with Arsenal because I've got Saka on my side, and he got a goal, but I've got Gabriel in defence. Obviously missed his goal, typical. They're not getting clean sheets. They're not scoring enough.
Not scoring. No.
I mean, obviously the anti-Arsenal narrative from Spurs fans or Liverpool or Man City fans will be Arsenal bottling it, but I can't see that at all. I mean, this is a team with players like Saka in it who took a penalty, in a major tournaments, with the eyes of the world and this country, looking at him. These are not bottlers. These are very brave people. But what is going on with Arsenal? Why have they been so poor recently?
I think against West Ham, they had a lot of chances, didn't they? I watched the game. I was on the train and I tuned into that game, and I watched that one, and I thought that they created a lot. They were just a little bit unlucky at moments. West Ham got the goals at really important times. Without creating loads, they were just very efficient. But then against Fulham, that was a concern because they just weren't creating. They weren't fluid in the final third. And Odegaard, to me, he seems to be a step ahead of everybody else. The others aren't quite on his wavelength. They're not thinking as quickly. And the problem with the Fulham side is you had Nketiah on there, you had Havertz, and I don't know if you needed them both. I think Jesus is good for that team in terms of bringing others into play. And the lineup didn't sit well with me, I don't think. And as Zinchenko hasn't been great recently, but I think they missed him a bit in that match at Fulham. They needed a bit more control. Okay. So it's a bit of a. I mean, I've sat here with double Arsenal midfield, and the fixtures they've got Palace, Forest, Liverpool, West Ham, and Burnley. So generally okay fixtures. But now I'm thinking. I mean, I'm not going to get rid of Odegaard now.
No, definitely.
Seems silly doing that now, but it just I need them to start. I think they've got 4 goals in 5 or something like that. I need to see improvement from them because it's a lot of money to have tied up in 16-17 million pounds, whatever it is, in an attack which isn't functioning. But let's see how they get on against Palace next weekend.
Yeah, so they've got Crystal Palace at home, then they've got Nottingham Forest away, Liverpool at home, West Ham away, Burnley away, Newcastle at home, Sheffield United away. So they're 1, 2, 3, fifth best over the next 7 in the season tick in terms of difficulty. These are good fixtures. They should do well, but it's not as if some of the fixtures have been especially tough on paper. So it's clearly them rather than their opponents. So yeah, Odegaard's one I'm potentially going to get in, but I need to monitor it. I'm sort of glad I've got the next couple of games to monitor. I want to give him a couple of games because he's got the potential to do really well in FPL with goals and assists.
Yeah, exactly. It's the assist which he'll probably do most of, but he needs the other players to be in tune.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, another Newcastle player, Gordon, did get an assist, Gameweek 20, but once again, like Almiron, like all of them, really. I'm just not interested in Newcastle until they show some form. They do have this nice run, though, from Gameweek 23. They've got Luton at home, Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. So next 2, City and Aston Villa, are tricky. I want to see Gameweek 23. I want to see in the next couple of game weeks, even if they lose, and I know it's tough opposition, but I want to see them perform better. And then I might be interested in the likes of Gordon, Isak, etc. But I
think it's ideal, isn't it? I think it's ideal we get these next 2 games to monitor before that good run, and we can see, is Eddie Howe still in charge? How have they looked in those 2 games? I do think they'll improve them because the schedule will ease. They won't be playing twice a week all the time, so that'll help them because Gordon just looks knackered at the moment, doesn't he?
Definitely. I mean, he is the Adingra of the North in that Adingra finally broke after I think it was 12, 13 matches. He played and pretty much nearly 90 minutes in each. And eventually his hamstrings just said, nah, I can't do any more. Gordon's going to... Something will happen to Gordon because, I mean, he's only human.
I thought he was going to come off at half-time last night and he didn't. But, it'd be interesting to see. They've got the FA Cup at the weekend, haven't they? Sunderland, I think, they've got to play. Well, so it'd be interesting to see if he plays that.
Yeah, I hope for... humanitarian grounds, he's rested. With Saka. Now, Saka is... I own Saka, I've done for a while, and I'm quite happy with these steady returns. A goal here, an assist there. I sort of don't mind that, because I know I'm going to get returns every now and again. But I'm not... I don't expect a massive haul. But, I mean, looking at the fixtures going forward, we just read them out, and they look good. So I think Saka's in your team as well. I think he's still a priority buy for those looking for Son and Salah replacements, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he'd definitely be in my kind of top 3 or 4 midfielders to own for this next period. He got the goal against Fulham. He's actually had 4 big chances in his last 2 matches,
Yeah.
including the West Ham game. That's as many as he had in the previous 12 combined. So his goal threat has gone up in the past couple of games.
Yeah.
He missed a really good volley at Fulham. So yeah, I think Saka is, his price is going up. He's 9 million now, is he? I think so. He is expensive,
Yeah.
but I think given that we can't pick Salah and Son, he's a definite buy.
Kevin in the live chat pointed out Adingra plays for the Ivory Coast. So apologies there, I got the wrong country. I was struggling to remember which country he plays for, because he's not playing for them. So therefore it's difficult to see him on a list. Although I think he is actually on the list. I think he is actually. I think I saw him on an international list, even though his legs clearly don't work at the moment. But
is it one of those where they name a provisional squad and then trim it a bit closer to the actual tournament?
Yeah, they've got to prioritise people with working legs. Porro is next.
That's a good start.
Porro is next. An assist game week 19, blank game week 20. Once again, I will say it again. I say every week. My favourite player to own at the moment. He looks like he can get returns every match. He always looks on the cusp of a haul. They always concede in the 90th minute. But he's good for bonus. I mean, he's just great. And I can't remember. Is he in your side? But if
I haven't owned Porro all season.
Honestly, just get him in, just for the thrills.
Yeah, I mean, I love watching him. Well, but he's not in my team, so I can't love it that much. But he's such a threat. The position he pops up in, great. I couldn't believe it. Brighton conceded 4 goals. And he got that assist, and then he was suddenly on 2 bonus points. I was coming back, and I was like, "What the hell? How's that happened?"
He's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, unbelievable underlyings, which help him with the bonus. So,
great player.
Just to quit. I don't think Spurs will keep any more clean sheets anytime soon. But he's going to tick over, isn't he, with assists?
I don't know though, because so Romero should be back soon, but it's not him. It's more Van der Ven?
Van der Ven. I think he is close.
He seems to be the key to the clean sheets, because they play the high line, and he's the guy that goes back and stops the goal being scored, or the goal scoring opportunity. So without him, their sort of gameplay's a bit screwed up, really. When he's back, I think it could be clean sheets.
Yeah, that will help, definitely. I think Basuma being at AFCON's a bit of a loss as well, just for the next 4 game weeks. But after that, then you'd expect them to tighten up a little bit and maybe deliver the odd clean sheet.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move. Archer is bottom of this list. Got an assist. I think he's looked quite good. I think Sheffield United have looked improved. I think if I was going for 3-5-2 structure, which I sort of have, but I've got Solanke, Watkins, and Haaland, so I've got no space for another striker. No. But Archer, I think if you've got a 3-5-2 and you haven't already got Archer, you've got maybe a non-playing, I would get Archer in, because he plays. He's got the potential returns. He's cheap, and you can invest that money in that midfield. I think Archer's the one. The cheap.
4.5, isn't he? I think. And he's been playing on the left. He's been playing on the left wing under Chris Wilder, but looked a bit of a threat. He was a sub at the weekend, but I think that was just at City. I think it was a different game plan there. He'll come back in. The only other player which I'd say competes with him at the moment is maybe Chris Wood. But apart from that, it's probably it. Yeah,
Chris Wood 4.9.
Bit more expensive.
It's a bit more expensive. And Nottingham Forest fixtures, they're bottom of the fixture ticker. But nevertheless, I think they've got the form at the moment to carry them through that. They've got Brentford, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Newcastle, West Ham, Aston Villa and Liverpool. Whereas Sheffield United have one of the best fixture runs. So there could be some returns from Archer there, with West Ham, Crystal Palace, Villa, that's tough. But then Luton, Brighton, who don't keep clean sheets, Wolves, and then Arsenal. So I think Sheffield United's fixtures are better going forward. Okay, let's have a look at assists imminent, see how we did it over Christmas. So hopefully I've got all of these ones in. Apologies to Pedro owners for missing his goals. Martinelli, much maligned, a bit like a lot of these Arsenal players for not delivering. But, he did get an assist. But I kind of expect more from him in order to worth getting him in. With Saka, because Saka's got the penalties and the returns seem to be more frequent, I think Saka and Odegaard over Martinelli still, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think this current system Arsenal play gets the best out of Martinelli as a goal scorer. I think he's had 3 big chances all season, Martinelli. So he's not getting presented with those chances, which he should be.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a midfielder. He should get, be able to get 15 goals easily in a season.
Yeah.
And it's just not set up to accommodate him, I don't think.
Yep.
So I owned him for a bit, but I've now moved on to Odegaard and Saka as my double up.
Mm-hmm. And we've got Fernandes up next. I mean, like Odegaard, who you got in, Fernandes on paper is a really good replacement for Son or Salah. But I say that on paper because that's not worth the credibility it's written on. If you mix that metaphor up. The problem is that Manchester United aren't returning. He looks good as an FPL player. Sorry, as a real life footballer in a poor team, a bit like Garnacho, except Garnacho is shooting. So Fernandes is setting up situations, being creative, but it's not working as a team. So unless they can all gel, he's not going to get those assists, and he's not going to win those penalties, and other players aren't going to win the penalties for him to take. So yeah, he's a no go, and this shows it over Christmas. Absolutely nothing for anyone who still owns him.
Yeah, he's not doing enough, is he, at the moment? I like the minutes. I like the fact he's a 90-minute man, but apart from that, I wouldn't be looking at him. I think with Garnacho, it's one thing investing in a team which are underperforming if they're 4.8 million, but going up all the way to 8 million plus on a player, I'm not considering right now. I'd like to see more from United before I do.
Okay. Next up is Harrison at Everton. So we've spoken about Everton with Calvert-Lewin. Harrison, another option, a bit like McNeil, and Everton are better now. They're a better side. We have to readjust how we think about them. And Harrison has got a goal, Gameweek 19. The fact he was on here shows that he was getting in attacking positions. His underlying stats were good for terms of assists. So. Yeah, Harrison, I haven't even looked at his price, but I presume he's a differential to consider, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's a few at Everton and around the same price, aren't there? With you've also got McNeil, who you mentioned, but you've also got Decore. I'd like to get an injury update on him because I think if he's back, he tends to carry the most goal threat among those midfielders. Yeah. But any one of those three on a given day could return. It's just whether or not you think the fixtures are good enough for Everton, and I'm not quite convinced they are.
No. Trippier's next. Dropped. No, he had groin injury, rather. But some people watching Newcastle recently might think, well, perhaps he should have been dropped for a little while. Because, blanks. I mean, he didn't get a chance to play in Gameweek 20, so obviously blanked. But Newcastle haven't been good. Trippier hasn't been good. So he's, more expensive, but Alexander-Arnold's probably, if you're going to spend money in defence, he's the one, not Trippier, isn't it?
At the moment, yeah. I think Gameweek 23, I wouldn't write off Trippier just yet, because I think that we know what he can do when he's at his top level. And if Newcastle as a team can improve, he could be a player we look at again in a couple of weeks. But you've got no reason to get him in now with City and Villa up next to. You'd back both of those sides to score.
No, Kulusevski at Tottenham, blank Gameweek 20 because he didn't play, he was suspended, and in Gameweek 19, but still looks good, still looks integral. But I think Maddison is now back with the squad. Don't think he's training with the first team, but he's sort of back and mobile and starting the process of coming back. So he could be back soon, within a few game weeks. So that might spell the end of Kulusevski in that sort of central role where he's done well. But I imagine, Kulusevski could be fielded out wide even, with Lo Celso coming in where he usually plays, then Kulusevski, Johnson flanking Richarlison in Son's absence, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I think Lo Celso got a couple of assists at the weekend, and Ange came out after and said how much he'll be needed in the next few weeks with the AFCON players away. And Maddison's, we're not going to see him back imminently, I don't think. Maybe in 3 game weeks or something, we might see him on the bench. But I suppose it's just Kulusevski. There's a lot of competition, isn't there? If he's in that central role, I really like him. But if he's back out on the right wing, do you put him ahead of Richarlison or Johnson, who's a bit cheaper? Maybe not. But he's a player that can do well for sure. No.
Anthony's next on the list. He's just a dud. They've just overspent and he's just not of quality, I don't think. And from an FPL point of view, I think it's Garnacho is the one to get if you want to invest. But there are the better teams, I think, to invest in. Although Manchester United's fixtures are good, Tottenham, especially with Tottenham, Wolves, and West Ham up next in the next three. But Anthony's not the one, is he? So we shouldn't even dwell on
it's
him.
just consistently poor. So let's move on.
Oh, to one of your team's players, Aston Villa's McGinn. Got a goal game week 19, and game week 20 obviously blanked, but he's got goals and assists in him. He always looks good. I don't think you can go wrong there. I mean, I think obviously Bailey is getting more attacking positions. Louise has got the penalties, and returning every week at home seemingly. But McGinn, good differential, I think.
Yeah, and he should benefit now Kamara's back, because he's had to fill in a little bit not all the time, but a little bit in that central midfield role next to Louise. Okay. Kamara comes back in, which frees up McGinn to play a bit further forward. I mean, Bailey it's suddenly this year become incredibly consistent with his return. So it's hard to look past him. And Douglas Luiz, in the sense that, there's not much open play goal threat with Luiz, but he's ticking over with penalties and set pieces with assists and things. So it's hard again for McGinn to get in a look in with those two ahead of him. But as a differential, playing further forward, he'll probably tick along, especially in those home games.
Yeah. Next up is Diaz. Got an assist game week 19. Should have scored game week 20. I think he did. Was ruled out. Always looking attacking. With Salah gone, that cement all of those players. The Jotas, Darwin Núñez, Diaz, Gakpo. Even it just elevates the amount of minutes they can get. But I think out of all of the mids to replace Salah, if you were going to go for Liverpool, I think it would be Jota, the one I feel. I don't know whether to describe it as. I hate that term, go with your gut or whatever, but Jota just seems the one. I don't think I need stats. It's just when you see him play, he just seems the most likely to score out of all of them. Do you see that?
Yeah, I think he's their best finisher, Jota, isn't he? And along with Salah, of course. But he's the one that he can get a brace, Jota. He can get a hat-trick in a game. You know, I feel that way when I'm watching Liverpool, and I like Diaz. I do like Diaz as a player as well. I'm just Jota's the one that, when I've got my midfield replacements and I'm looking at Liverpool, he would be the one that I'd go for. It's just whether or not those next three games are tough for Liverpool. I think they've got Bournemouth, Chelsea, and Arsenal next, which isn't an easy run, given that in game week 24, Salah could potentially be back. I think I'm right in saying
at home to Burnley. Perfect.
Yeah. But I think you probably do want some Liverpool attack for those three games, because their attack is that good, as we saw last night. So. I think Jota's really interesting. So,
I mean, I've gone from triple Liverpool with Tsimikas, Salah, and Darwin Núñez to currently none. I mean, I've got Salah, but he's red flagged, and I'll get rid of him. No Darwin Núñez, and no Tsimikas. So, I feel a bit exposed with no Liverpool, so I will be looking there. And Jota's the one I feel. If I don't go for, I haven't got Alexander-Arnold, so if I don't go there, I'll get Jota. I actually sort of want to monitor the Alexander-Arnold situation, because I feel that Salah has a greater understanding with him. No matter where Alexander-Arnold plays, I feel that Salah seems to be the one getting on the end of those passes.
I think Jota will Jota play on the right maybe when Salah's away? Because I think Harvey Elliott can play there as well, can't he? But maybe he will slot in there with Darwin through the middle and Diaz on the left. Gakpo sometimes coming in. There's still options there, isn't there? For Klopp. It's not like Jota. I don't think he's going to start every match still, but I think his minutes he'll still get a lot. When he is benched, he'll probably get 30 minutes off the bench, which can be enough. We saw that yesterday. So
definitely. With the Liverpool's fixtures, they do have this nice run. That game 24, as you said, Burnley, but then they've got Brentford, Luton, and Nottingham Forest. So that's a really good run there. I definitely want Liverpool in place there, and I do hope Salah's back. I'll be moving to get him back in around then. Anyway, it's worth noting though that Liverpool could have a double around then, because they'll be blank. They could blank in game week 26 if they reach the League Cup final. So that could be a blank. So Liverpool Luton might not be on, but it could go into game week 25. So you want Salah for that, basically, and of course Alfie Doughty for that Luton double up. Okay, moving down the list, so we've got Diaz. Yeah, I mean the best till last on this list. Elise let us down tragically, no assists, but he did get 3 goals, which is amazing. So he's been probably the top performer over this Christmas period. So anyone who got Elise in for Crystal Palace with their better fixtures has done well. 3 goals. I think he's now. I can't remember. Is he? Was there an injury or something? Is he?
He's coming back. He's come back, but he's played a few games in a row
That's
now.
right, yeah.
But he is currently flagged though now
That's
because
what
he
I
came
thought.
off. I think it was a hamstring, so you do need to monitor that. There's obviously now a bit of a gap between game weeks, which helps. But I wouldn't be moving from right yet. I'd monitor those pressers next week.
No, so they should be interesting, Crystal Palace, on fixture wise as well. So which makes me think I might still keep. I've still got Anderson, believe it or not, and you've still got Mark Gahey, haven't you? So it comes around eventually. So yes, they have Arsenal next, but Crystal Palace then have Sheffield United at home, Brighton, which anything can happen, Chelsea, Everton, Burnley, and can't quite see that. Tottenham. So it's an all right run of fixtures, really. You know, Well, I mean, you could rotate, but you know, the dangers of rotating at the moment with these good players. But I think if you get Elise in, you can just happily play him for this period.
I think so.
Obviously, I think he's the best option over Eze.
It's interesting, isn't it? Olise, we've always regarded Olise as the creator and Eze as more of the goal scorer. But in the past 3 games, Olise, I think he's had 12 shots in the last 2 matches, more than any other player in the league. And so has something changed with that role, or is he just going through a purple patch? I don't know.
No, I think he's always been good, but I just think,
he's a quality player. I just mean in terms of that goal threat. Is that going to be? Is that goal threat going to remain there? And is he going to continue with that volume of shots, or is it going to be Eze who's offering more of that goal threat, which is what has happened in the past? Or has something changed? Is he taking more shots now? Has he been instructed to do that? I don't know, but. I like both of those players. I like Olise and Eze. It'd be interesting to know who's on penalties.
Yeah, because they're not too badly hit in terms of injuries and international duty. So just looking at who's off for any internationals, and it seems to be Jordan Ayew in terms of sort of the main contenders.
Yeah, if they've got Eze fit and Olise on that fit, Palace are a completely different team, I think. Yeah. So. Much, much better. I would like to know who's on pens, though, because Olise's taken one and Eze was coming back from injury. Eze was taking them prior to that. That feels key to the decision that I'd make. But they both look good. No.
Oh, okay. Me and Tom are going to talk about our teams, how we've done in Game Week 20, but also more importantly, looking ahead to our sort of early thoughts on Game Week 21. While we're doing that, do have a look, do have a think about some questions in the live chat, and do put your questions on. Remember to put a question mark as well, so I can see them. I can see one question already from Knife. Is Gross close to being on this table? Well, we'll find out next week. So we'll have a look at that next week in earnest there, because yes, Gross is certainly one of my top choices in midfield. Because he's very good and just quietly gets returns. And I think over the calendar year, the top performing FPL Brighton midfielder was Matoma, but over last season it was Gross. So take of that what you will. So he's still a good option. Okay, we've got your team first. So do you want to run through your team, sort of who you've got this week, and also highlight your sort of what your early thoughts are for Game Week 21?
Yeah, so it's been a difficult Game Week 20, as you can see from the screenshot there. I'm on 64 at the moment with Areola still to play, but obviously 2 big decisions I got wrong. I benched Palmer, and I played Odegaard and Solanke over him. And that was a really tough decision last week. I mean, Odegaard was on my bench at one point prior to deadline, and then I switched. A little bit of my thinking, Odegaard did very, very well against Fulham. I think he scored home and away against them last year. I thought this was a game which would suit him, and I wanted to play. He feels like my differential in my team. And I kind of wanted to play him because I'm looking to gain rank.
Yeah.
Solanke, I thought he'd score at Spurs given the injury problems that they have. I think he had 9 shots in that match and just wasn't clinical enough. So it's really punished me that. I think I'm 16 points down. And then I captained Alvarez. I didn't sign Alvarez this week. I've had him for a bit longer than that, but I captained him and rolled the dice with that a bit. And obviously I've lost points on Salah. I've lost, 9 points, I think, the captaincy swing on that. So it's been a bad week in that. Taken a bit of a step back, but I didn't make a transfer last week. So I've got 2 for game week 21. I've got 1 million in the bank. So I've got quite a bit of flexibility on what I do now going forward.
So, presumably you're looking at Salah and Son out, but also what happens if it looks like Haaland is a definite starter for Newcastle?
Well, I bought in Alvarez before the Everton match when he went into score, because I thought Alvarez would play centre forward for those 2 matches, which he did. But what that has done, and that's why Palmer is benched, is it's beefed up the squad. It's created more depth to the attack. So I think if Haaland is back and we get the nod that that's going to happen, I think it'd probably be Salah and one of my forwards out to a cheaper midfielder and Haaland. I can do that for free. It's a really simple move to make. And of course, it means that, yes, I'd be carrying it means I'd be carrying Son, but I think because of that front 8 that I've got, I can cope with that for 1 week and then move on Son after. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, no, I have very similar thoughts there. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's if Haaland's fit, going to Newcastle who are struggling, that's what I'll do. If Haaland is a doubt, if we think he's going to be on the bench, then I think it will just be the Salah and Son switch to 2 new midfielders. We'll have a look at Bowen tonight. We've spoken about Eze and Elise. I like Jota as well. Jota, sorry, I'll get the pronunciation right before anybody flags it up in the comments. Apologies. And Foden's there as well. There's a few options, isn't there?
Yeah, Palmer's against Fulham at home. You're going to be playing him next week, surely.
Absolutely, I'm not making that mistake again.
So imagine Solanke would drop out.
Well, again, this is a position that maybe the Haaland being fit would actually be good in a way, because it means I don't have a benching headache. I don't really want to bench Solanke at home to Liverpool, but I think that he would be the player that I'd have to do it again. Yeah. And the Palmer situation is not nice. I think a few people have done similar to me this week. Yeah, I've seen it popping up. I think Luke,
I've seen it in the live chat already.
Andy from the Scoutcast.
Yeah,
and it's one of those. And I look back and you kick yourself a little bit. But I thought Luton would put up a fight at Kenilworth Road, which they did. And I didn't see Chelsea scoring 3 goals. And but Palmer was both of his goals were brilliant, absolutely brilliant, weren't they? And he's got that quality. And so a bad week. I think I'm down to just over 400k now. So I've taken a bit of a tumble this week. I've still got Areola to play, of course. But considering I was ranked in the millions just before Christmas, I've got to look at it. I'm not just looking at this game week in isolation. I've generally been doing okay recently. And I've just got to hope that's a bit of a blip. 2 free transfers, go into game week 21 and hopefully get back on track.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, with 2 free transfers, that will suddenly makes the squad. I mean, the squad looks really. I mean, that's the problem. The squad is too good.
It's too good.
You get your bench points.
That was the Alvarez move when I bought him in. You sell Haaland, you've suddenly got a lot of money in the bank. I've got Mubama as the thinking behind it. Just quickly bringing Alvarez in was because this next game week is split over 2 weeks, isn't it? So we're only going to have 10 press conferences. The other teams are then in action a week later. So maybe beefing up the squad for this game week isn't a bad idea, because we might get an injury or 2 in that period. It's a very unusual game week, but there are pros and cons to that. And the cons are that sometimes you bench very good players.
No, definitely. I think that's good. Okay. Let's have a look at my team. So, I mean, similar. I don't know what to make. I actually don't know what to make of this game week. It's been both good and bad. I've emerged with 85 points so far with Areola to play, and I'm up to 73k, I think it is. Nice. which is good. I've fielded a 3-5-2, and the bit I'm annoyed about is I benched Alfie Doughty in favour of Anderson from Crystal Palace, and people think that's weird. I just basically one of the many reasons I got Doughty in was I thought he was a really good to rotate with Palace because Palace did have a much better fixture, and they almost got that clean sheet. It was just in that opening blip, really.
Yeah, they conceded very early, didn't they? But Brentford, I can see why you did it, because Brentford have got a lot of problems in attack at the moment, haven't they?
I thought this was the moment, and I thought Chelsea would score. I mean, I didn't think they would get as many, but I thought they would score a couple of goals. I just didn't see. I thought the most I would get was to be an assist out of Doughty. And with Anderson, I thought I might better get a clean sheet and therefore bonus. So that's what I was thinking there. I mean, there's a lot of people like you and people with their Palmer decision. I'm sitting there with my benching my Luton Star decision. There's only me. I've got no one else to cry with.
No, yeah. At least I've got a lot of the support groups and the various chats that I've got on WhatsApp. But,
people don't care about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why you play it. I played Gahey and I was lucky enough to get the assist, but I can see what your thought process was probably exactly the same as mine. But now you've really seen what potential, because you've only owned Doughty for 2 weeks, haven't you?
I've got a goal out of him, but now missed 2 assists. Amazing.
Yeah, so you know exactly what he's capable. So Burnley away, Brighton home, next 2. I can imagine he's straight in your 11.
He's as I said, it's Leighton Baines. Never bench, never captain. He will always be in my team now, so which is great for me. So I've now got a permanent defender, and one that people are either slow to get or they won't get because they'll go Luton.
No. Yeah, exactly. It's a bit like Wolves, though, isn't it? Earlier in the season, Wolves kept popping up on our tables. Not going to get a Wolves player. Now you look at them, and Cunha and Hwang, and they're all delivering. And Luton have got talented players too.
Yeah. So I've got at the moment 3-5-2. I've still got Areola to play. Anderson, as I said, Gabriel let me down. Pedro, he never lets me down. Always looks good, even if he blanks. Salah captain. I did consider the captain a lot this week. For me, it was between Son and Salah, and I thought Salah had the edge just because of how poor Newcastle had been, particularly on the road recently. And I just felt that Son would get a return, and I thought Salah might get me. He could have got me an unbelievable haul if he'd have scored that first penalty. So very happy with that return. Saka obviously got the return. Palmer I fielded on the basis of I've still got Haaland, so I had no choice but to field Palmer, but I would have done anyway. Garnacho got me a return, so it's a clean sweep across the midfield. I can't complain. I've got Solanke blanked. Watkins got me many assists, 2. So he returned. And on my bench, Dubravka, is 8 points on the bench. Whatever Areola gets, I would always have made that decision.
Oh, same.
Yeah,
that's not. I'd go over the Palmer bench. I've been going over in my head constantly with that Dubravka. You just don't do it.
I almost don't care what Dubravka got because I never would have made that decision. The Doughty Anderson one is I look back, that's the decision, but I look back now and I think no, I'm not going to bench him because I think he can get an assist against anyone. Haaland I've still got. Much maligned. I've been in a number of videos recently, and all of them say. All of the comments say, I can't believe you still got Haaland. Are you mad? But I keep thinking he's going to return. And then I've already got a lot of the players that I think are good anyway. And it was really Alexander. It was using his money to get Alexander-Arnold, who's a completely different position. So that's what I've missed out on. So I don't feel I've missed out terribly because, for example, the week before, Alexander-Arnold got the 0 this week. The week before, I had Doughty's return. No one's got him. So that more than covered Alexander-Arnold's return.
I think the only thing really that you've missed out is you've got Garnacho instead of maybe like a Bowen or Maya Odegaard. That's the difference, isn't it? Yeah. And Garnacho's been ticking along. So... it hasn't. I don't think it's hurt you that much.
I don't think it has. Because luckily, I do these videos with you. And we try and spot under the radar gems and differentials. So, Doughty, Garnacho, I can file alongside this season alongside Adingra and Evan Ferguson in successes there. Haaland and Lamptey's still there. 3.9 million. He's just going to sit there.
So what have you got then, Joe? Have you got one free transfer or 2?
I've got only one free transfer because I got Garnacho in for a Dingra. I've only got one free transfer, and I actually wrote down what I was thinking of doing because it's quite complicated. So we have to think about it. So if Haaland is fit, I've got 2 choices there around him. 2 decisions. One, do I captain him? Because I actually think if he is totally fit, he is the best captain because of
He
Newcastle's form.
probably is. There's not. Yeah, you've got Arsenal against Palace,
Yeah.
haven't you? But I don't know. Yeah, Saka's probably going to be up there, isn't he? But
And as has been
who
pointed out,
else?
City are now in sort of killer death mode. They're like,
Yes.
right, we're off now. And I think Haaland, and he's going to be his effective ownership's going to be like below 100%. So that'd be amazing to captain him.
Yes.
So what I'll do there is I'll field him and possibly captain him and do Salah to Bowen, and that's it. So
Yeah.
I would be benching Son. So bench Son, and I'll play Doughty, obviously, and bench.
And you'd have one playing sub, which should get you through, even though it is a very
I'll
odd
have
game
Anderson.
week.
I'll just have Anderson against Arsenal.
You'll hopefully be okay.
Who knows? But hopefully everything will be okay. So that's what I'm looking for. Another move I would have to do with a hit. So if Haaland's definitely not fit, or he's like really, really like, he's not going to get the minutes this match, I'll probably take a hit because I think it'll be worth it in the long term, and I'll do Salah to Bowen.
Lamptey.
All of my plans involve Salah to Bowen, and then either Son to Foden, and then because there'll be a double game week for City soon, and I've liked Foden at the moment, and then I'd still play Garnacho. So all of my possibilities involve playing Garnacho, not bench. I don't want bench points, hopefully, and that's. But there's a lot in the air though, so I'm hopeful that I can do that. And yes, Lamptey or Anderson can go up to Alexander-Arnold, but I feel I want to see Liverpool a little bit more without Salah. I mean, I seem to remember last time Salah went to AFCON, Liverpool weren't that great. I seem to remember.
Yeah, I need to look back on that. I can't. We'll be doing lots of stuff on site about it, and we'll have a look at the impact of it.
Yeah,
I need to look at. I need to research that.
I feel I need to see that, but yes, definitely the Salah, because I've already got Haaland in. The Salah would be, obviously downgrade, so I'll have plenty in the bank to possibly make that move the next week, or possibly do Son. So I mean, lots up in the air for me. Salah and Son, obviously priorities. I like Bowen, but I think Bowen's my top choice, and then Son to either Foden, Bernardo Silva. I just looking at like doubles. Possibly Pascal Gross, possibly Richarlison. So there's lots of options. I'll probably do a video, or someone will do a video or a podcast soon about best Son and Salah replacements. But there's a lot of names in the hat at the moment, and I just know Bowen is one to get him, definitely
reliable. I wonder if we might see him back on the wing tonight as well, with Kudus not available. Maybe Danny Ings will come in or something. I think that's good for. I think it's good for Bowen if he's out wide. I prefer him out there.
Yeah, definitely. I think he could be good, but West Ham have done well against Brighton recently, but historically Brighton do better against West Ham. But we don't have Glenn Murray anymore, or it's Izquierdo who scored a howitzer against them, I seem to remember. But so different teams now. But then they don't have Kevin Nolan anymore, so I remember him scoring against us. Okay, let's have a look at some questions from the community who are in the live chat. Let's have a look here. So Gavin asked, why hasn't Haaland dropped further in price? I don't know, because it's a bit of a mystery. The price drops, but I imagine it's because his ownership's so absolutely enormous. He needs to, no matter how many people sell him, a lot of people need to sell him for him to drop. I think he's already dropped once over this time. I think he's 13.9 now. So
he is 13.9. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not.
I think he needs to drop a lot.
We don't know. We don't know exactly how that works, and the price change sites give it their very best shot, but even they get it wrong sometimes. I'm not an expert in that field. I would have expected him to drop a bit more than 0.1, but maybe they don't. Maybe they don't want him to. I don't know.
I don't know. There is a difference when you're red flagged as well. So he's no longer red flagged, so that might escalate his drop there. Sean asks, any thoughts on keeping Salah? No. I mean, I've kept Haaland all this time, and even I'm thinking of getting rid of Salah. He's definitely out for 2 or 3 weeks. Even if Egypt get knocked out in the group stage, it's still at least a couple of weeks. He's so much money, you can use that elsewhere.
Yeah, I tend to think it's, especially if you own Son as well. I think a lot of people have maybe thought like you, Joe, well, not like you, but they've got Garnacho in and they're thinking maybe I can just bench Salah and play somebody like that. But it's so much money and there's so many good mid-price midfielders available at the moment.
Yeah.
I feel like you probably want that spot to more so than selling just to get another midfielder in the mix.
Well, yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, so in my case, I haven't got Bowen. Bowen in Game Week 21 has... Looking down the list, West Ham.
Sheffield United.
Sheffield United away, so good fixture. If you haven't got Saka, for example, Arsenal at home to Crystal Palace. If you haven't got Pascal Gross home to Wolves, he scored a brace, I think, last time against Wolves. So I'm sure we'll be mentioning him next week, and I'm sure he'll be in consideration for the scout picks.
Yes,
and,
I would have thought so.
So there are really good players, and you can afford anyone. Salah down to anyone. So, and I think that was the thing why I kept Haaland for so long. There wasn't any particular striker I wanted. I had Solanke and Watkins. There was no one else screaming, "Oh, buy me, buy me!" And if there was, then maybe I would have got Haaland. But there was no one really, really amazing.
Yeah, I think because I went from Haaland to Solanke originally,
Yeah.
he was the player I wanted,
Yeah, exactly.
and then it was then I went up to Alvarez later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get why you maybe didn't feel the need to shift him on because you obviously wanted to bring other players in different positions.
Tony asked, do we need to think about Haaland and De Bruyne getting back to fitness? Well, yes, obviously. I think with Haaland less so. He does less running. With him, it's more sort of short, sharp bursts of run. And just being a general nuisance in the penalty box. With Kevin De Bruyne, I would imagine much more on the fitness front would be a concern. Also, he's been out for much longer. He's been out for many months, whereas Haaland has only been a few weeks.
They'll be careful with De Bruyne, I would have thought. I think it will take a while before he becomes a serious FPL option.
Yeah, he's
Haaland, obviously, he'll be straight back in.
Yeah, as soon as Haaland is fine. And what I want to see is Haaland training with the first team. Once I see that, then he'll be back.
I think he'll play the Newcastle game, but obviously keep an eye on all the presses.
Yeah,
and all of that
there's a lot of speculation online. People with the comments. It looks like he is nearing a return, and he probably won't be risked in the cup. But time will tell next week. We'll know more next week about that. Foregone conclusion asks, many will struggle to get both Haaland, Salah and Son back in. So he's thinking, obviously, getting Haaland back in sooner, and then in a few weeks, game 24 or 25, whenever, getting Salah and Son back. If you had to choose two, which would you pick? Okay, come that time, Haaland, Salah, Son, you can't afford all three. Which one would you get? Which two would you get?
It has to be Haaland and Salah. I think because as great an option Son is, you have got Richarlison there, who's a little bit cheaper, who does give you he's not Son levels, but he gives you a bit of exposure. I'm not sure if you really get that at City or Liverpool, a player as close to Salah or Haaland. They're just streets ahead, aren't they? It'd be nice to get them all back in, but you probably would need to lose like an Alexander-Arnold or another, or go down from an Odegaard to a Garnacho or something to facilitate it.
I'm an example of someone. I've got all three already. I've got three now.
Yeah,
obviously, I'm going to get Salah and Son out. And Alexander-Arnold is the guy I can't get in. So that's your answer.
And you haven't got Trippier. You've just gone cheap at the back, haven't you?
If you want all three, you can't have Alexander-Arnold or a player like that kind of price.
Yeah.
For me, I would prioritise getting Haaland, definitely, because he's back soon. And the thing about Salah, it all depends on whether there's a double game week for Liverpool in game week 25, if they get to the League Cup final and they're blanking in 26. So then what I would do is Haaland, Salah, then Son. So Salah can then be moved to Son. So if you're doing it like that. If Salah hasn't got a double game week 25 and blanks in game week 26, and Son doesn't blank in game week 26, because of course Spurs could still blank in 26, then I would just get Haaland and Son and ignore Salah for a couple of weeks. But yeah, it all depends on Son getting through to League Cup final and Salah. And it may be that we come to a position where there's no doubles and both of them blank in 26. Therefore, neither of them are priorities.
Yeah, there's a lot up in the air. It's very hard to make decisions at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think it will become clearer as we get to that point when they're due back.
Definitely. Connor says Palmer benching club represent ! So obviously many people have benched Palmer there. Still no one else has benched Doughty. I'm still on my own, crying.
Nobody owns him.
No one owns it. No, it's like it's something like 3% owned. There's a few hundred of us.
Yeah, well, yeah. I did. Yeah, well, I think when you got him in, he was in the differentials as well, and it obviously went really well. But I know he's under 5 because he was included in that. So
yeah. I'm just to tell everyone, ignore everything said about him. Don't get him in, because I he's my differential.
He's yours.
I want to get his points. There we go. I'm just looking down the list. If we get positive news about KDB, would I be mad to bring him in for Salah or Son? I just don't. I mean, I share your concerns, Tom. I just don't think he'll get the minutes. I think he'll get some minutes in the cup game. I think he'll get some minutes against Newcastle. I can see him not getting more than 45 minutes a match for a while.
Yeah, I just think he's going to start games, of course, but then I don't think he'll be consistently starting every single game and getting up to, 70, 75 minutes, which is what you want from him. And I don't know, De Bruyne has always been that absolutely incredible player, but he's that FPL player where I've very rarely thought he's absolute. I don't put him on the same level as Haaland and Salah, and I don't even put him on the same level as Son, even when he's back fit this year. No. I think there'll be games where he explodes and he does really, really well, but I'm just not sure without the penalties. And I think he'll be getting a lot of assists, but will he get that shots in the box, goal threat, that kind of thing? And is he going to get the minutes as well? Yeah. I don't think he'll be if you're chasing, and he's going to be a great differential to have. But in terms of just ranking those players, I think it'll be really hard for De Bruyne to get up there with Haaland, Salah, and Son this year.
A nice exchange,
in my opinion.
Yeah. A nice exchange between George and Ashes in the live chat. George says City may not be as good as everyone imagines, and Ashes says true. City are actually better than everyone imagines, which I sort of see that. Roynish says he's going to keep Salah. Bought him for 12.5, would lose too much when buying him back. I'm not sure. Is he 13.3 now? I mean, if I sold him now, it would be something like 12.7, 12.8.
I think he went down last night. Didn't he go down last night?
Yeah, I think it would be like 12.7, 12.8. I would sell him for. He would probably go down maybe once, maybe twice more. I don't mind. I don't really mind about value. I think. And I haven't kept Haaland all this time for value. I kept Haaland because I kept thinking he's going to come back. But I wouldn't worry about it. I just wouldn't worry about it. He's going to be cheaper, and I don't think you're going to lose. You don't look at it in terms of like you'll lose 0.7 million. You're going to lose half of that. Samir, is Bowen a good captain for next week? I mean, this is interesting because if Haaland could be the best captain, but he might not be. And it's very likely he won't be if he's not, guaranteed minutes. But, all those fixtures for those midfielders we mentioned with West Ham, Sheffield United at home, Palmer, Fulham at home. Sorry, Sheffield United away for West Ham. And Bowen's better away. Palmer, Fulham at home. Ivan Toney could be back. Nottingham Forest at home. I mean, this is the week potentially the week for a differential captaincy, isn't it?
Oh, I think so. It's one of those split weeks, isn't it? You've got Saka at home to Palace as well.
Yeah.
You've got Liverpool going to Bournemouth. The only problem is nailing down who gets the minutes there. Because even if you get something like Jota, it wouldn't be a surprise if he starts, if he comes off at 64, 65 minutes, something like that. No. So I'm probably not looking at that fixture so much. Bowen's got to be in the conversation, hasn't he, at Sheffield United? Absolutely.
I'll have Haaland, but if I don't feel that Haaland is going to start and do well, then I will probably Bowen would be my next one, because I think
Yeah,
Bowen
I
away
can see
is a
that,
really
yeah.
reliable pick. No matter how better organised I think Sheffield United are, I think West Ham have the capability.
Yeah, they'll still get chances, won't
Yeah.
they? So yeah, that's Bowen. Good shout, I think. As it stands at the moment, he'd be right up there in the top three picks, I
Yep.
think. No.
Duh, duh, duh. Just looking for more questions. Is Stupinan an option again? Yes. That's a simple answer. You saw what happened when he came on last time after a massive
Yeah.
injury. He scored. Scored. In fact,
He should play tonight. He should play tonight, shouldn't he?
yeah, not only scored, he scored what could be it being one of those, top goals of the season. So yeah, he's really good. So Brighton won't temper your expectations on clean sheets, though.
Yeah, it's a bit like Porro, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the similar type of player, isn't it? So in that
Yeah.
you go in there, but not similar players as in the profile, but what you expect from an FPL.
Yeah.
Like, don't expect clean sheets, but elite goal threat.
Yeah, Brighton are top of the fixture ticker, so think attacking returns. And yeah, like Porro, Estupinan, I mean, I owned him until he got injured. Just think, I mean, FPL, it's fun. It's meant to be fun.
Yeah.
Owning
yeah,
Porro
yeah.
is fun. Owning Estupinan is fun. They can get you a goal out of nowhere, a massive haul, assist potential as well. The only caveat I had with assist potential is partially about Matoma. I felt him and Matoma were a really good partnership, and Matoma won't be there, but I think he's a great option, and that's why many people are getting him in. Okay. Would Kuna be less of an option without Chan Huang there at Wolves?
I'm not so sure because Neto's back, isn't he?
Yeah,
He got some minutes
that's what I
off
was
the
gonna
bench. So there isn't there's a quality creative player coming in who won't shoot as much as Swang maybe, but maybe he'll, the dynamic will change a bit. They've got a lot of creators. Sarabia has been playing really well recently. So I think Cunha remains a decent pick.
Sean has got a question about Salah. And this is one where I'm going to say, yeah, you can keep hold of Salah and just bench him, sounds weird, because his midfield is really good. So he sold Son, he's got Bowen, Saka, Foden, Palmer, Alvarez, Haaland, and Watkins as a front seven. Bench any of them at your peril.
Yeah.
And so, if Salah's his eighth, you can just happily bench Salah, I would say. Your attack sorted. Because if you sell Salah, you'll get another player in that you'll want to play, and you will get bench points. So just avoid bench points.
Just make sure you've got not like defenders, because obviously your bench is, you're going to have one non-playing player. So just make sure that you've probably got five try and get five defenders, at least two of them, even if they're rubbish, at least they're getting minutes.
Yeah.
Because I do think there might be a bit of, you might call on your bench in the next couple of game weeks. But yeah, if you've got a front eight like that, then shouldn't be a problem with it really, and then he's ready to come back in 24 or whatever.
And also, I don't think there's a great need to get Alexander Arnold in. Or having said that, I'll probably get a hat trick against Bournemouth. I said, do you know what? I said that the other day. I said talking about Chris Woods, and I said I'll probably get a hat trick against Newcastle or something. We got a massive haul, but so
I think
but you don't.
I don't think for clean sheets though for Liverpool, they've got three really good attacks next. They've got Bournemouth. Well, actually no, Bournemouth are a really good attack. Chelsea and Arsenal aren't great at the moment, but they've got the quality to score, haven't they?
Yeah. I don't see clean sheets there.
I don't think Alexander Arnold's a must.
And also, we just mentioned Estupinan as with the show is going out. He's below 5 million. I got Alfie Doughty in the other day, 4.5. What is he now? 4.4. You don't need that Salah money can sit there for a week, even two. There are budget options. That's what this show's about. Looking at those differentials, those cheaper options that people aren't considering, and you can definitely get them. Okay, let's have a look. We've got time for a couple more questions. We've already covered this really earlier on, but Jota potential differential. Yes, both me and Tom agree that Jota is probably the best one to get in if you're going to go for a Liverpool attacker. Got a question here, I can't remember who said it. Any Brentford assets to go for? Well, they got Ivan Toney coming back. And,
Yeah, that'll be the one.
and he's actually been training for a long time. It's not like he's been sitting on his bum.
He's been playing games, I think, behind
Yeah.
closed doors
Yeah.
as well. He's scored a few
Yeah.
times in the friendlies. So if you want to go there, I mean, you see Tottenham after, but again, you back Brentford
Yeah.
to score there. The City match is tricky. The Liverpool match is tricky. So the fixtures, there are some tough ones, but he's on penalties. He's going to be chomping at the bit to kind of come back in and impress, isn't he? Ahead of the try and get back in that England squad. So I think he's a nice option. I think Watkins, Solanke, Haaland, Tony, those 2-3 out of those ones are the ones you want to be considering.
Okay. According to Sokan, who's from Finland, Estupinan has a cult following in Finland. I never knew that. It's like Norman Wisdom has got a cult following in Albania for those octogenarians watching.
I wonder why Estupiñán's got
No idea.
what the link is then to
No
that.
idea.
No.
A George and Mildred sitcom, big in Cuba, apparently, as well. For another one for the octogenarians. Dennis says, FPL is supposed to be fun, says Joe. That's me. Watkins instead of Salah captain. Oh, he did Watkins instead of Salah captain, Palmer on the bench for Silva. So it doesn't sound like it was fun for him. Okay.
No, I mean, I know. I know. I mean, I went for the Alvarez one. I know quite a lot of people who went for Watkins captain against Burnley. It just depends how you saw that match going, and I think people were saying after Newcastle had a bit more rest, they might put up a bit more resistance, but Liverpool just absolutely blew them away, didn't they?
And I'll do final two questions, then we'll go. Kaya asks, sell Gabriel for Botman, Burn, or Estupiñán. I wouldn't say Gabriel is a must sell. I'm sure you must have better.
No.
I mean, other players like Salah or Son, whoever, who aren't playing to sell. Gabriel, on paper, has a good fixture.
I'd keep them.
But out of any of those two, if you were to do that, Estupiñán, obviously. And Kieran asks thoughts on Barkley as a long-term bench option in a 3-5-3. Can you play 3-5-3? No, you can't play 3-5.
3-4. He means bench option in a 3-4-3, doesn't it?
If I got Ross Barkley in, I'd want to play him because Luton's fixtures are good. Against Burnley, Brighton, Newcastle, Sheffield United, Manchester United, they can get goals in any of them. Barkley is proving that he's Premier League quality.
He's nailed down that position, hasn't he? He's playing a bit deeper, but I mean, he's got the quality, hasn't he?
We've been doing some New Year resolution videos, lots more coming out. There's one with Tom as well that's coming out this week. I did one. One of my New Year's resolutions was not to underestimate the promoted sides. And I did it exactly that week as I was doing it, benching Doughty. Don't make that mistake again. Do not underestimate players like Barkley. Great that you consider getting them in, but these are players you can actually play a lot and much more than you think. They're good. I reckon we should go now. Next week we'll be back with Goals Imminent. We'll look at the latest tables there, so keep a tune on that. We'll have a team reveal video as well, so we'll have more information about firm up our plans there as well. So plenty more videos and podcasts coming out this week. Do look at them. More of those New Year resolutions one got. Lee from FPL Family tonight, which is about 5 o'clock. I think that's scheduled for. He's got his thoughts on to find out what his New Year's resolutions and what he thinks he can do better this season, and many more coming this week. Do press that like button if you've liked this. Just press it anyway, and do subscribe to keep update with our latest videos. And do have a look at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for latest members offers there. Lots of bargains. Thanks a lot. Take care, and Tom, see you soon.
Cheers, Jake.